BIC episode number 96. We are getting ever closer. Episode 100, the actual, legitimate Spooktacular. Gonna be amazing. Now, this week, though, I will say, unfortunately, the Mayo coach lost. No Willis. We didn't have that going, so the Packers lost. So, Eric, it is my unfortunate duty to inform the listeners that this week there is no Mayo Monday. I want to commend you, though, before we continue. I want to commend you on your professionalism and maintaining a stoic facade. Because honestly, the text messages that I received from you, the way I didn't realize you could weep openly and via text message. It was very odd, very strange. But nonetheless, you managed to hold it together for the sake of the podcast. So I appreciate it. Brandon appreciates it, and I think the listeners appreciate it. So this right here, this is your flu game. Under these horrible circumstances, you are holding it together. No Mayo Monday this week, but we will talk a little bit about some items that might have come in, may have come in from some generosity. We'll touch on that in a moment. But then the main topic, we'll be talking about the differences, kind of playing off last week's, and then also talking about a Discord conversation we had. We're actually going to talk about the differences when a collector really wants something and the effort and kind of direction they'll go to, how the lengths they will go to go get it versus something they just may be a little bit interested in, and kind of play off that because there's a little bit of room to explore that space. So we'll touch on that and more on this episode of the BIC podcast. As a little bit of a bonus, I actually wore a t-shirt with a graphic on it in honor of Eric. So we actually all have t-shirts with graphics on them this time around. Usually I've got just a plain t-shirt. So I actually wore a Griffin's alumni shirt in honor of Eric. He is a big appreciator of the Guelph. But I do have a quick story about that. So if you can tell, the Griffins and everything looks a little bit worn out. This is actually a new shirt. But what they do is they've actually got it distressed. My mom was like, literally looking at it, goes, "Oh, is there like something wrong with the quality of the shirt or something?" Because she was like, "Oh, it looks like the thing's peeling off." And then I was looking at it going, because I didn't remember that it was distressed. And then I actually went to go to the order page and everything. It's like, no, actually, that's what the one in the picture looks like. That's actually intentional. Because then I went and looked at it. It's like, no, the graphics on there. It's fine. It's actually an intentional
what the cool
choice.
kids like today.
Yep. Apparently, yeah, that was the thing. I actually didn't realize that's what it was. And then I had to go look at the picture on the website. It's like, no, it actually looks exactly like the way the shirt looks. It's worn out in the exact same spots.
As stupid as this sounds, some of the vintage clothing, specifically like Carhartt, sometimes will go for more money if it is beat, dirty, distressed, thrashed is another good term to use.
Wow.
And somebody joked one time and it was like, is this generation paying more to make it look like they've done something? Because it's like, and it's true. Like I'll pick something up and I'll be like, it's in too bad a shape. And then I realize, no, actually that's what they want. So it's weird, but yeah, that's a style. So
it was actually funny to me though that was the case because I've bought a bunch of different shirts from it's the university bookstore that sells a lot of these ones, and it's like I've got ones that are like this from where like they started off normally printed and I just had them for long enough that it got that way on its own, the old fashioned way. It was just kind of funny. I was like, no, actually, this is fine. So it turns out it was completely okay, but I thought it was interesting. Anyway, a couple of different things that I want to touch on. I'm going to get into the poll from this past week, so I want to thank everybody. We're going to get into the new silly card of the week, though, shortly. So we did get another record turnout, so thanks everybody for participating in this one. We had the definitely not opposed photo. I went old school, ye old school there with old judge card. We had the brow from Eric involved in that one, and then we had a baseball nap time. So with a record number, 45 votes, very strong turnout, continuing to be the only true democracy in this world. The winner this week with 76% of the popular vote, a very strong performance, was Bat Nap Time. Brandon, take a bow. Your card was victorious this week.
I am shocked at that one because I feel that was... I picked that card and I told you it was more because of the nameplay on it than the image. I'm normally looking at the image.
It sounds to me like a lot of people are tired, Brandon. They just wanted a nap.
Yeah. But I want to call something out here, okay? I was going back through in the votes in the poll. It's been an awesome and fun thing. But I have to ask a question. Why is the bottom card never won? The bottom card of the three choices has never won. Are they an immediate underdog? Is the bottom card too far to go down to select for a minute?
We're too lazy to scroll to the last choice.
I
Have
can't
you
go
look
down.
at the community post and go
first
through them
move.
all? The bottom
can't
card
go
has
down.
never won.
Well, you gentlemen, look, it is a theory, but Eric, I will tell you this. In the spirit of fairness, if you guys pay attention, I've actually rotated which one
Yeah,
is the bottom
you
one.
have.
I've given everybody a chance at all three levels, so that way nobody has a fair or unfair advantage, Eric. I've made sure everyone has been the third option and on one of these weeks minimum. Everybody's been second and everybody's been first. So everybody's had a shot at all three spots at least once.
The fact that I don't win every week just tells me that the fix is in, and I don't know if I want to play anymore because I expect to win every single week, and if I don't, you guys are cheating.
I think maybe the people are getting a little acclimated to your like, hey, here's a hockey player who looks weird. Maybe you should go outside type. You know, again, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was victorious once. So maybe you need to think a little outside the box there, Eric. Just a little outside the box, you know? Just
All
I think
something to consider.
we'll see how my funny-looking hockey player does this week, and if he doesn't get the respect that he deserves, I have something on my desk that I will try next week.
I think
Wow.
I've used all four, like the four main sports.
Well, you are still missing American Gladiators, but I'll grant you that. I think you touched on them. See,
American
we'll get to that.
There,
So a couple of
there.
things here, a couple of things that we'll share. So we did get a couple of comments last week. So thank you as always for the participation. We do appreciate that. So let me read a couple. Dr. Copernicus said, "Sweet Sapphire cameo." I don't know what he's talking about. Much like a lot of Dr. Copernicus' comments, I don't know. But I'll say thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely say thank you.
You know, appreciate your comment. Bob Jackson says, the retouch card is awful for a 1 in 721 hit. So that was referring to the Dennis PC card of Brit, where the background is a tooth and the little, I don't even know what you call it. It's like, it's a dentist tool. It's basically used to take plaque. You know, the little metal, whatever, pick. It's literally a pick?
I believe that is the term.
Well, regardless. So
I think it's a
nonetheless,
dental
that was the
picker
background.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless, it's a dental tool. Like if you've ever been to a dentist's office, you've definitely seen it. So that was the background of it. A little addendum to that, I was able to track. It was actually funny because on Facebook, the person who pulled that card where I got that image from on Facebook group actually put it up for sale. So I have purchased said card, and right now, as far as I'm aware, it's the only copy that's been out there. I have purchased said card.
You bought the tooth?
Yes, I did.
I hope if you spent more than $1,
Did you convince them?
Slap you.
Did you convince them it was just the base card because like they didn't even notice what was
Trust me, they knew it wasn't a base card. they knew better than that. I was able to get it for probably a better price than some folks would try to get from it. But I'm going to separate. Try to get from it from what it would get in the open auction is two different things. The seller, I'll say, was smart enough not to put it in open auction because I think I'd be able to get it super cheap then. Ignoring Eric's comments, he goes, if it's more than $1, listen, you spend more than $1 on Reggie Lemon M&Ms. So I will hear no words from you. No words. And this will play into the main topic about chasing after something that you want and how far you're willing to go to chase after something you want versus something that's like a nice to have. For me, I like getting those, especially those short prints. Again, I would rather have paid less. No matter what, I would always rather have paid less. That's just normal. But the reality is that I still don't have the photo variant from last year's flagship. Unfortunately, they've proven to be extremely tough for me to track that. Again, as silly as they are, I still don't even have an option to make a choice for them. So when one becomes available and they're willing to work with me on the price, I was able to come up with a price that I could at least live with, so that was fine. And actually, they had 2 other ones that I needed, so I was able to knock 3 off my checklist and do kind of basically a group deal, a package deal. So fair enough, and I'll update that when I get it. But yeah, it is silly. For a 1 in 721 hit, it's terrible. It's 1 in 720. It's a bad. That's not a good hit for that kind of difficulty.
When you get the card, that needs to be your silly card of the week, and I will vote for it.
Maybe I will.
I won't.
Maybe
No,
we should.
Brandon and I won't even put cards up that week.
Wait,
And
so you're saying so you're saying the card wins by, wait for it, default?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
There you go. So Bob Jackson says, awful for 1 in 721 hit. Yes. They must be trying to copy Topps with their photo variations. Funny enough, Bob, they also have photo variations. And the photo variation is actually easier to pull than the tooth card. So there is a photo variant as well. And from what I saw from the ones that I've seen, I think it's just like a photo shoot picture. It's literally a photo shoot where they've got like a white background. So it's like, that's yeah, that's a little lame. That one is 1 in 480 packs though, so it's easier. Excitement. Zach here, last in the comments. Again, thank you for the participation as always. Eric, wanting credit for predicting the card boom won't last forever is complete nonsense. Well, that's just facts. If grading is double the price and they grade half the cards, their label cost goes down so they make more money. Everyone wants things to happen so fast that we're still in a card boom, just not at the peak. These companies aren't hurting for business where they need to lower prices. So, and we also did touch on this. Eric predicted, the doom and gloom of the hobby after July 1st, a couple of years ago now. And yet, in the doom and gloom, in the post-apocalyptic days, Brandon, I go to a card show and it's full. I go try to buy some crap and it's expensive. So when, this post-apocalyptic era, Eric, is costing me about as much as the boom did.
My comments a couple of years ago
were record grading post July 1st.
Bubble was this is what I said. I have it written down somewhere because I'm a hoarder and I don't throw anything away.
Ooh.
I said sell. I was telling people sell now. It's not getting any higher. It's gonna pop. The balloon's gonna pop by July 1st. It's gonna start coming down. It will not go down as far as pre-pandemic. It's going to stay above pre-pandemic moving forward. But for those, if you remember, the warning was really about those who stretch themselves too thin. I said, don't get caught holding the hot potato. You have until July. I said this in January. I said you have until July 1st to get out from underneath things, because starting July 1st, everything's going to start dropping fast. So
and that was also July 1st a couple of years ago. It's just so we're all clear. It wasn't this past July 1st. It was the previous one.
Completely accurate. It's the first time in my life I've been right about anything. And I'm going to die on that hill.
Were you though? I feel like record prices have been paid since. We've reached, the record number of gradings. Like grading has never been a bigger thing than it ever was. I know for a fact Brandon is no one has ever played more for J-Rob cards. The J-Rob pump is still working. It's still churning away to this very day. And I know for a fact, Eric, that Reggie Lemon cards are up like 47 trillion% since July 1st, a couple of years ago.
That actually might be true. We are trying to be 5% more mature on this. So you can go above and beyond on Fridays and tell me I was wrong and all that. But since we're on this show, I was right. And everything I said that was going to happen has happened. We are not below pre-pandemic. We are still above pre-pandemic prices. It's going to stay that way. The hobby is still strong. But those people who spent $5,000 on a card, that card's now worth $1,000. And you will never get that extra $4.
And I'll also say, in seriousness, I'll also say some of the 90s Not So Fella cards are also setting some record prices. I've definitely seen a couple of those that are actually doing quite well as well.
I seen a post. I don't know who it was. It might have been Collectibles Guru or one of them. I don't know. Anyway, it was a little reel thing. A guy showing his Zion Williamson collection.
Okay. Yep.
And it said peak price of this stack was $99,000. And it said current price approximately $5,000.
And that's probably still about $4,500 high.
Yeah, but
and that was a big stack.
Still too much.
But I was like, yeah. I think there was actually probably some that took even harder hits than that.
Oh, 100%.
But
Look,
Oh, yeah.
there's
yeah, Mac
there's two different
Jones.
Mac Jones. Look,
Yeah.
but I said truthfully, like two things, as one of my favorite sayings, two things can be true at the same time. Some of the cards reached their absolute apex that there was no real chance they were going to be able to reach back into because the money simply isn't there. But there are other categories. Again, this will play into the main topic in a bit here. It actually will, believe it or not, because there are some items that some folks may still be interested in to the degree that they're still willing to pay strong money for it. So it allows certain people, certain characters, certain specific cards to still hold to either hold value, to be able to hold fairly firm, and if it's rare enough and people want it enough, they may actually pay more than they did in the previous opportunity because, well, if you don't buy this one, there is no other one. So it depends. Your mileage may vary depending on the item. Other stuff, totally down, way across the board, like down below, sea levels, like it's down there.
Well, something else I think we're seeing, at least I've like noticed and questioned why. When we're seeing some of these cards out of these new products, we're seeing 2024 cards or 2023 cards if the product is like one of the delayed ones selling for more than the players cards from the past have ever sold for straight out of the pack. And I'm talking like vet players. And we kind of quickly touched on this before when we were talking about the product cost, because people are trying to find a way to reassert that value from the product when they're opening these boxes up. And it's just like mind blowing because it could be a guy in a 2024 product that might have had an auto back in like 99 or 2000, and you could go buy that one, which was theoretically harder to hit, probably way limited, way more limited of a quantity, but yet people are paying more for today's product because the cost of the products have went so much.
Absolutely. So it's just some stuff to think about. I think it's always interesting when some of those things play out, and we'll see what happens going forward. So let me touch on this here, and we'll get into we'll touch on a couple of the football things really briefly. It won't take too much time on it, but we'll at least discuss
We
it briefly.
won't.
Oh no, we will. Just
I'm saying we won't spend too much time on it. No,
Yeah.
we won't
yeah.
spend.
There's not that much to discuss too much for some of the teams, but we'll get into it here in a second. But I did want to touch on AMG Collectibles, AMGcollectibles.ca, AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. They had a trade night and a card show this past weekend. So more than likely, we'll be spending some time talking about that. They had some of the new products that came out in the store. O-Pee-Chee Platinum is recent. The Cup came out a couple of weeks ago. So maybe we'll get a little bit of what's going on with those. I know I've got some new cards to showcase, so we'll definitely touch on that. And we're kind of an interesting time because now we're at the end of September. So at the time that this drops, we're recording it on the Monday. It'll drop on the Tuesday. Later on Tuesday, you'll be able to see the recorded episode for the podcast. And if we have any announcements on any of that, we'll talk about it more later. But we'll definitely touch on it. But one of the things that's going to be forthcoming in the next little bit is now they're going to have the card show happening there at the same location as the store. And since this is the first iteration of that new location, we'll see how things went, and maybe they'll be able to give us a little bit of background on that. So we'll touch on that, and we'll also start getting everybody warmed up because as we head into October, into spooky season, don't blink because the expo might be around the corner. So we might be talking about some expo prep. Still weeks away, but we'll start slowly making our way. Like, 'tis the season. It's coming rapidly. And we're even getting close to the hockeys. So Eric's getting all excited and tingly over there. So it's very exciting. And plus, they got Monday Night Hockey now. Monday Night Hockey on the Amazons if you're in Canada. Ooh. So very exciting. Oh, let me tell you. Ooh. So we'll see what happens. So that'll be one of the many things that I think we'll touch on, at least some of these different things, and we'll get into that as well. So we want to thank AMG for supporting the podcast and the YouTube channel. So before we continue, Brandon, if you would like to share, you did acquire an item that came your way. If you want to briefly touch on that, we can always touch on it on Friday, but if you want to talk about it now, you're welcome to.
I won't be home on Friday, so yes, let me share it.
Good timing then to put timing then to share and discuss.
Yeah, I'll be out of town. So, yeah, big shout out to Brad and Sherry. I jumped on, what was it, about a week or so ago when they were opening up the case of the cup, hanging out. I was sitting here at my desk working and just watching and kind of, having fun, Raz and Eric, and just playing along. And they hit a very, very, very nice card of the product. So congratulations to them. And then they were kind enough to gift that card to me. And, again, great people, but they pulled a Cup the Show Jason Robertson, and I know it's not coming in too clear there. It's out of 99. All jokes aside, they also pulled the Connor McDavid of this same card autographed. I don't remember what that was numbered out of, or if it had
So
a
the
number.
autograph ones, as far as I'm aware, are not numbered, and that's a big. There was actually some controversy in a Facebook page. They are limited, but they are not numbered as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and then the generosity continued, and I met Brad in Atlantic City. The dude is just awesome. I had a lot of fun in the period I met him at Card Collector 2's trade night, and him putting on like the Bobbles sticker over his little jacket he had on and everything. But they included a little surprise, and it's actually a Black Diamond Jason Robertson 1 of 1.
Awesome.
And definitely was not expecting this. But they are, really great people. Appreciate you both, and thank you. You know that it'll be tucked away in the pump vault.
There you go. Officially the pump vault. So I think next time that you do one of the SGC ones, either the reveal or the next one, the next video for it, I think it needs a place of prominence there in the background. I think it deserves a little visit there. So
shout out to Mike Kaufman. He's not on YouTube or anything like that, but he's been a long time like follower of my channel and the group and everything. And he's the one that used to like submit all the time and had a ton of Jordans. Like every order was Michael Jordan stuff, really awesome stuff. And he built that himself for me to have that double layer display and everything. And I thought it was awesome. He sent it to me. I didn't know anything about it. And then he was like, but the cards don't stand well enough because there's a glare. But, that's another example. Like I was saying, Brad, Sherry, they're awesome people. But we talk so much about the negativity in the hobby. There is a lot of awesome people in this space. And Mike's one of them. Because he was being critical because he thought it was bad because of the reflection. But I just adjust the cards so they look nice there. But yes, those will definitely find a place on the shelf. I like rotating the cards out sometimes to give people something different to look at.
There you go. That's the spirit. We like it.
So
with that thought,
if I could just quickly thank Sherry.
Mm.
During that cup break, they came across this Bobby Orr out of 249, and it showed up at my house yesterday. So it was very nice of her to send that down to me, and I want to thank her and everyone at AMG for everything they do for us. If I left anybody out, I apologize.
Wow. The hashtag ungrateful swine comes to mind there, Brandon. Just throwing it out there. Just not one of many hashtags.
5% more mature.
That's right.
Hey, if it was Friday, I wouldn't even have thanked her.
Disgraceful. Utterly disgraceful.
All right, listen. They're both they're both great. They're both great. We're very lucky to have them as friends, and they are both overly generous to us. And we're all very fortunate to have them. So, that's so. Again, thank you very much, and I appreciate the gesture.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, guys.
It's a good stuff. Wanted to make sure we touched on that briefly here. So let me go into the silly card of the week. Again, we appreciate everybody's participation the last couple of weeks. It's been steadily growing steam. We do appreciate that it has been growing in steam here. We're going to leave Brandon's, questionable, we're going to need to leave the kids at home. If you're watching the YouTube, you may need to send the children to the back. Listen, this isn't quite a manual in space, but there's some concerns that I have about this silly card of the week. I'll leave it y'all to make a decision. We'll let Brennan justify himself to all of you.
Yes, because I actually have the Wikipedia pulled up here. It's worse than I thought. It's really
I have no doubt it's worse
than
you thought. My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
We'll go ahead and start with this one to get it out of the way because.
All right. Hold on. We're going to Brandon's choice. We're going to Brandon's first. All right, Eric. Well, brace yourselves.
We're going to get kicked off YouTube.
Now, by the way, this is important. These are all real sports cards. These are all real sports cards that were released by actual manufacturers. These were made. These were all made. We didn't make this up. This week, no custom cards. These are all legit release, license, the whole 9 yards, whole bit. All right. So here
Somebody
we go.
picked these photos to put them out in public.
That's exactly the key point. Yes. We want to make sure we reiterate that piece. All right. Brandon, justify yourself. Explain.
So, first of all, I've seen this, and this is a 95 action pack Sterling Sharp, okay? But my first thought when I seen this card is,
Oh, no, this
Ooh.
one's Shannon Sharp. Don't try to put this on Sterling.
Shannon Sharp. Yes, I
Sterling
said
played for the
Sterling. My
Packers.
apologies.
Shannon is the Bronco.
Yes,
Oh,
my
boy.
apologies, Shannon. Yes, but my key thought was, who did this to that poor defensive player or defenseless player right now?
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's what I keyed in
Dum-dum-dum.
on here, because that gentleman is actually Darrell Henley. He played for the LA Rams. He was actually quite good in college. He was a second round pick, 53rd overall in the NFL. Keep in mind, I said this card was 1995 action packed. He actually stopped playing in 1994, which makes things worse.
Because of
Wow.
this card.
Yeah, it's probably,
Things are
this
so
ended his career
bad.
retroactively.
Nope, things get worse. The man is actually spending a sentence of 41 years
Oh, God.
in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles
Oh, good Jesus.
for trafficking cocaine and then hiring contract killers to try to murder the judge, or unalive for YouTube, the judge and a witness of his trial. This card literally ruined a man's life, it seems.
There's no doubt.
So I want you all to know in
Action
advance.
should be held accountable.
They should be ashamed is what they should be right now. They should be
Good
ashamed.
Lord.
That's
I did not
So-
know that till I was just looking at it, and I was like, wait, what did that say? I was like, holy cow.
So Eric,
But-
I put a little heading beside each one of these when we include them in the silly card of the week.
Yeah, you do.
I know the obvious one here. This is hashtag cursed. Right here. This is straight up hashtag cursed. The whole thing.
Hashtag life ruiner.
Yeah, like everything.
He
This is all
was a
cursed.
good
Everything.
player.
God.
He had 12 interceptions in 76 games in his career. Like, decent player.
Yeah, absolutely.
How could
There's
they
actually
do
a couple.
this
There's
to the
actually a
man?
couple more. There are legitimately a couple more jokes I can make here, but I am 5% more mature right now, so I am going to refrain.
Good
But I
for
want you to know
Well
that
done,
if you
buddy.
observe this image, there are more jokes you can make. Many more jokes. Just
Oh,
throwing it out there.
Jesus.
All right, I'm going to move on then.
Yes, we should.
All right, Eric, we'll finish off with yours, but let me go to the second one here. Following in the Stadium Club bit from the other time, we did Stand the Man. This time we're going to go with the Chicken Man, Wade
Oh,
Boggs, hanging out in the
With
chicken
some
coop.
chickens.
Yes, hanging out in the chicken coop with some chickens. So if you guys know anything about Wade Boggs, he was a very superstitious man, and he ate chicken before every single game, becoming the Chicken Man. And Stadium Club, in their infinite wisdom, selected quite the thing. Obviously, people bought into this because you've got Wade Boggs in uniform,
Yeah.
hanging out in a chicken coop, no doubt picking out dinner.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like. It looks like I want that.
I choose you.
I need that one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just sick.
Listen, man. Again, I'm going to reemphasize all of these are real cards.
Yeah,
They are real cards released by manufacturers.
Now,
Action Pack should be ashamed.
The funny part is, I work in a sports memorabilia shop. Supposedly, we're the largest sports memorabilia shop in all of New England, and we have millions and millions of cards. We specialize in New England teams. I have never seen this. I thought I have seen every Wade Boggs card ever made. I was wrong. Because I
But now,
would
Eric-
remember this.
But now, Eric, you've seen it. State it
Yeah.
now you know.
I can never unsee it.
Mhm.
He's picking out his dinner.
The man's hungry. What do you want?
Oh, Jesus.
My goodness, my goodness. So you got some stiff competition there, Eric. You got some
Yep.
stiff competition, let me tell you.
I think I think I know who's going to win this week, but I still stand by my pick. This, ladies and gentlemen, is without a doubt the greatest, and when I say greatest, I mean worst, comb over in the entire history of mankind. Just imagine for a second what that flop looks like when it's over the other side. There's nothing but baldness up there, and that long. I mean, that has to go out to the end of your fingertips, and then he
That's what I'm trying to
flops
do
it over.
here.
I mean, this is something special. You don't see comb overs like this. Can you imagine what that guy looks like in a windstorm? So,
Do you have an image of that?
I was gonna say, like, look, let's be honest about this. I have no doubt. Listen, Brandon, I think Eric is not showing enough faith. I feel in a windstorm it would be majestic.
I think he'd be like his hair would be like a sail, and he'd be blown away.
Majesty, great majesty.
Oh my lord!
So there it is. You got comb over man, you got the chicken man, and you got come on man.
Come on,
There's three different. There are 3 different types there. 3 different types. All of these will be included in a community post. We thank you for your participation, and once again, we're looking to you, the people, to use your democratic right. This is the only real piece of democracy that is left. This is it. This is it. You select your selection for this week, and we will give you the results next week. We thank you for your patronage, as always. All right. So let's touch on 1 or 2 things here. I want to quickly, briefly touch on this, and then it'll kind of lead us into the main topic. So I was listening to Big Scott's live stream last night. I was checking it out a little bit on replay. So as I was listening to it, they're right now doing, and I didn't want this to be the main topic because honestly, the topic bores me. I'll be perfectly honest with you. The idea of being like a hobby president, because apparently the folks decided this is the topic du jour when we're clearly bored. But nonetheless, one of the and part of the reason, and just I'll explain why I'm kind of picking on it a little bit. The reason I find this topic to be uninteresting is because it always boils down to 1 or 2 things. It's whatever your personal agenda is. Whatever you personally complain about, that's going to be your quote unquote platform. So whatever it is, that's it. Like you hate breakers, I'd ban breakers. You can't afford to buy boxes, I would make boxes cheaper. I'd remove the monopoly from whatever. And as the reason the monopoly exists is because these leagues didn't want to deal with multiple licensees. There's an actual reason for it. And the other part of it now, and this is one thing I'll touch on, and we could probably touch on in a main topic down the road here because we could debate this piece. I think people would be shocked at this stage in the game. What would happen if the manufacturers were ever allowed to compete the way you think they would? The idyllic fantasy is always, oh, well, if they had to compete, then they make better products and the quality would be better and all that. Maybe. But given that during the last time there was a lot of competition, a bunch of those manufacturers went bankrupt. And the reason a bunch of brands are consolidated under a certain one is because these other manufacturers couldn't hang. Because remember, before they went to exclusives, they were still allowed to compete, but they went under. Pinnacle went under. These companies started disappearing because they were competing, but they couldn't survive. They had bad business models, so it actually didn't work. I would contest to you, and it's something to chew on. And again, we can talk about it more down the road here. I believe that the competition that you would see in that hypothetical scenario would be a little bit closer to what happens when your local gas stations are quote unquote competing. I won't speak for your area, but you ever notice how when you go to the gas station, technically they're all competing with each other. You ever notice how a bunch of them wind up right around the same price?
Oh yeah.
Even though they're competing, quote unquote competing, and yet somehow they wound out around the same price point, give or take.
It's always like one that's way different, either way higher or way
Sure.
lower, right?
But for the most part,
they're all within a couple, 1 or 2 cents of each other. And I've always thought that, almost like a
cartel is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, cartel. That's close enough. The local gas station guys get together and say, okay, this is what we're doing. Is that a deal? Is that a deal? This way we all make money. Okay. And and I've always thought that the local guys get together and kind of set a tone.
Yeah. I'll also
Well,
give you another C word that goes for it. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was just gonna say, take away the gas station thing because that's a great example. But in what you were discussing, we can keep it inside of cards. Go
Yep.
to your retail store and look. Pretty much all your blasters, same price. Doesn't matter which level product it is.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter if it's upper deck, panini, tops. Your blasters are pretty much all the same price. Your megas, pretty much all the same price. It's a similar thing as what you were discussing with the gas station. Sure, it's different manufacturers, it's different products, but when you go to get it off the shelf, $30, $30. It doesn't matter which level of set it is. And a lot of people also think that's like a Walmart thing or a Target thing or even like the distribution thing, and they blame a lot of it on like Walmart or whatever, but don't understand that those are rented spaces. Walmart really could give two craps about those cards on the shelf. That's why in many cases those shelves are a disaster because they don't want to take employees to go over there and clean them up. That's
Right.
rented space. And then the cards are pretty much priced out to where the consumer just goes up and it's priced then at that point by box size. You get the bigger box, it costs you more. You get the little box, it costs you less. That sort of thing. So
Yeah.
when you mentioned the gas station thing, that's what it led me to, is something direct inside the hobby.
Yeah. Well, I think what it comes down to, and again, we can certainly elaborate on this more. And again, I'm only speaking not from insider knowledge experience, but I do talk to a couple folks that are around it. And in terms of the way they look at it, they perceive it on their end. And I'll say this. I think you guys overestimate. It's not that they're not competitive, because they definitely are, but I think you overestimate at the business level the type of competition they're willing to engage in. They're willing to engage in competition where they want to be perceived as the better one, or they want to produce the quote unquote better product, but at the same time, they don't want to spend more money. So, because a lot of the things you think about from a competition standpoint, you're thinking about spending more money. And the only one that right now that wants to spend more money is Fanatics. And the only reason Fanatics wants to spend more money is because they basically want to crush everyone under their boot. That it's not the same. It's not competition for competitions. It's competition like, oh, if we're going to compete, then we're going to bury you under a boot, because then we control everything. So it's competition to be the Highlander. There can only be one. That's what they actually want, competition wise. If you brought everybody in and said you have to do multiple manufacturers, then the most likely scenario is they go in together and have a conversation. It would be more like collusion. It would be like, all right, we are forced to do these many manufacturers. We are required to do X number of products. Well, in order for us to be profitable, we have to be able to sell X number of products. So you're going to get 3 flagships. You're going to get 3 entry level. You're going to get a bunch of middle tier and a couple of high ends from every single. And what you're going to discover is a lot of them will start looking kind of the same. Why? Because it plays better for everybody to keep it around the same.
Well, and another thing that could happen too is, believe me, I am not. Close your ears. I'm not a Fanatics fan. Shocker, I know.
I'm telling.
But I think what would happen is, even if we did have like competition, I think to get around it, they have enough money to just go buy those other companies and then make them like sister companies. So therefore they're not directly related. They're subsidies or whatever, but yet they're still making the profits. A similar thing, everybody thought SGC would be poof by now because collectors bought them. Well, collectors bought them to just take the income, like take the revenue. Instead of being a competitor, now they're a partner.
Well, that
And
was a
they're
discussion.
earning the
There's
revenue.
as long as they're getting enough submissions to justify that the brand still has value, why mess with the golden goose? Right now, you're getting
Right.
record amount of
You're
submissions from
making the
both.
money.
Yeah,
You're making
so
the money.
yeah, collector's parent company likes money. So you're saying all we got to do is just leave it be. Well, look, we'll let you fantasize that they're 2 different companies. They're not, but we'll let you fantasize they are. If you're like, I hate PSA, I'm sending SGC. Collectors is like, sweet, sounds great.
Yeah, they win either way. They don't care.
Yeah, it's like, great. Hate PSA, send it all to SGC. Send it all. Brandon isn't standing by to wait your call. Like it doesn't matter. They don't care. It makes the point is the bottom line, and the bottom line is the bottom line. And when it comes to this hypothetical scenario, I actually think you'd be shocked how quickly some of these manufacturers would be willing to go to the table and go, all right, we're all using the same printers. We're pulling from the same raw materials. If we're required to be part of the same ecosystem, how do we make this work? So I think you'd be shocked that they would probably be right at the front line to be able to go and have that conversation. And I don't think you're going to get what you think you're going to get. But again, it's hypothetical because we're in the era of the exclusive anyway. But that's one thing. And then the second one is my favorite about box prices and everything. And it comes down to supply and demand. It comes down to the breakers currently occupy a segment where they take a lot of it. But the reality is that there are still people who buy boxes and packs through breakers. So as long as that's the case, that's still a way of absorbing the supply. That's still part of the ecosystem. And one of the comments that was brought up, I think Scott brought it up, is that he'd love to see Upper Deck come into. He would love Upper Deck to be making baseball cards. And I kind of chuckled when I listened to that on the replay because I go, I'm in the hockey space. If I go to the Upper Deck Facebook group right now, there's always people bitching and moaning about Upper Deck. Oh my God, Upper Deck's falling off. Oh my God, Upper Deck's terrible. Oh my God, Flagship is awful. It's overpriced junk. There are plenty of people out there who have a lot to say about our Flagship. By the way, even if you think, oh, well, that'll bring prices down. Well, let me share with you a little trick, a little secret. It's not really a secret. If you just paid attention, you would have seen it anyway. But okay, let me ask you, Brandon, Eric, quiz question, a little bonus question here. If I tell you that box A of Upper Deck Flagship is $100 a box, I'm just making up a number, $100 a box for Flagship. Box B is $100 a box for Flagship. Have I increased the price, decreased the price, or kept it the same? This is not a trick question, but I'll explain what I'm getting at. Box A of Flagship is $100. Box B of Flagship is $100. Have I increased the price, decreased the price, or kept it the same?
I'm thinking it's the same.
It would seem self-evident. It seems straightforward. It sounds like a trick question, doesn't it? Sounds like a trick question.
That's why I'm like, okay, what did I miss? Okay.
It's
the same. I'm going with the same.
Depends on if the product contains the same amount.
That is the correct answer. So it isn't a trick question, but it is a pertinent question because I can give you a real example. Flagship that is released right now is 12 packs per box, 12 cards per pack. That is 144 cards in a box. Okay. Regardless of what the price is right now, there's a Bedard tax and all that, but forget that. Let's just make it, right. I'm making it even. For the sake of this conversation, I'm making it even.
Okay.
Well, they changed the configuration to get it to 12 and 12. It hasn't been 12 and 12 for very long. It's only been a couple of years. 21-22 Upper Deck, Series 1, which is only a couple of years ago now. It's not that long ago. It was 24 packs per box, 8 cards per pack. Less cards per pack, yes, but twice as many packs per box. Today, you get 144 cards in a box, 12 and 12. Back then, you get 192, I think it is. Something like that. It's 192, give or take. Well, when they first made the switch over to 12 and 12, the box price stayed the same. So that's why I asked a moment ago, if I kept the price the same, but I actually gave you less cards and less packs, did I increase the price, decrease the price, or keep it the same? The answer is I actually increased the price, even though the price was the same, because I actually gave you less content for the same price. It's shrinkflation. It's like when I take the bag of Doritos and charge you the same for the bag of Doritos and cut off a bunch of the content and put less in it.
And usually in those circumstances, not only is it the shrinkflation of the box, but it's inflation of the amount of product, which then it caters into more profits because there's more product availability and everything.
And it dilutes the value of the contents inside.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, maybe a card out of 100, I'm just using examples from the past. A card out of 100, you might have gotten one per box before. Card out of 100. But now it's one in every 3 or 4 boxes. Mm-hmm. Well, how is that possible? You triple the print run. That's how you do it. But so you're in your brain, you're looking at it and go like, I paid $100 and I got a box before. I'm paying $100 and I'm getting a box now. But wait a minute, the pile of cards is actually smaller now. In reality, they increased the price without increasing the price. So yep. I think a lot of folks sit there and they're like, oh, well, we need the box prices to come down. I say, I get the sentiment. I do. But be careful what you wish for, because there are ways for the manufacturer to give you what you ask for without really giving you what you ask for. They can lower the price without lowering the price.
Oh yeah. And I think, the thing you said about the chips, I think it's more relatable to everybody because everyone knows
It
you get
happens.
this
It's already
big old
happened. So a lot of
chips
people.
full of air, you open it up and it is a quarter of the way full. Where that isn't how it used to be when I was a kid. And I know that was 100 years ago because I'm really old, but some would say decrepit.
I'm still trying. My wife says that I'm losing my mind, but I still think that like a McDonald's cheeseburger, just the regular cheeseburger, when I was a kid, now I granted I was smaller, so that the perspective of the sandwich versus the size of me was much different.
And Ronald
But I
McDonald
swear that
personally made the
sandwich was
burgers.
much.
That's
I
right.
swear it was much bigger at like 59 cents back then. Today
Yeah,
they're
right.
like bite size for $2 or whatever. And I'm like, huh.
Brandon,
'Cause
I'd be more
every
concerned
time you
about
look,
the
it's
fact.
like,
I'd be more concerned, Brandon, about the fact that in the ye old McDonald's times that you're talking about, I'd be more concerned about the fact that that was an actual burger, and today you're getting a piece of cardboard with flavoring spray painted onto it. It's not actually a burger, people. That's not a burger.
No,
It's like
I won't
lies.
eat McDonald's. I
Lies.
won't eat.
Eric, you
don't
won't eat at
very
3/4
often,
of the
but
fast food joints in this planet.
No, I don't.
when you
but
look
I,
at it,
I
it's just
have
like,
eaten there are some fast food places I have never eaten at. McDonald's, I have definitely eaten at many times in my younger life. Now, I think the food's disgusting. It's not like I'm a health nut. That is horrible. I do not want that. Their
There you
French
go.
fries are pretty good though.
Listen, the fries are, I think they actually put sugar in the fries or something like that. They actually still taste pretty good.
It's pretty
But
good.
you've also gotten a shrink in the fries. So, like, just to be clear, it's across the board. It's more expensive and you get less. So, all I'm getting at here, Brandon, and Eric, my point that I wanted to make is I was hearing out what they had to say. I was amused by it. I appreciate the sentiment behind it, but I think it's always the reason why I don't like those kind of questions, theoretical, is that we always react emotionally with our personal agenda. It's always whatever we don't like is the thing that we throw out there. And then people go like, yeah, yeah. And then I'm like sitting there like, I don't have to work very hard to pick apart why your idea doesn't fly. It's not that the manufacturers and all these things don't want to necessarily do these things, but they're sitting there like, yeah, but our job is to make money.
Money?
It's actually our job to make money.
Yeah.
and that's the part that's always confusing because you hear it so many times in the hobby. If you don't like something, you need to speak with your wallet. You need to speak with your. But then people continue like to go with the same pattern, the same path as they've been on, and just complain more about it. I'm not sitting here saying claiming to be innocent. I hate the box prices. I hate it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I
think
used
it's
to
fair.
enjoy opening them.
Mhm.
But I don't open them anymore. Like I spoke with my wallet. It just doesn't make sense to anymore. It's not as fun. It used to be fun. Even if you were still, if you want to say wasting money or whatever, it was a lot more entertaining knowing that you weren't losing or wasting,
you
throwing
lost
away,
less.
lighting on fire.
You felt like you had, maybe I'll put it this way. It felt like you had at least a couple of cards that you could be like, oh, at least these are pretty cool cards. There are a couple
Yep.
of cards that you can extract a little bit of value from. So it didn't feel quite as one-sided. Maybe that's what
You
it comes
could
down to.
condone the cost as entertainment. Now
Yeah.
it just does not feel entertaining.
No, it's
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah. And we talked about it last week or the week before in the live stream as well. And that was one of the things where I said, about what happened with a little bit of Upper Deck Flagship. Because I use this as an example because I'm living it right now and opening products of that right now. And the AW thing actually applies here because it's not different than the hockey. Other than
Right.
the subject matter, it's configuration wise, it's 12 and 12. It's the same configuration. In terms of what they put in it, in terms of the type of ways they try to make hits, it's the same idea. It's actually the same. The only difference is in wrestling, they don't have young guns. But, at the same time, the inserts are different themes, but same idea, same type of mixture of inserts. And the problem is there's a lot of inserts in the box, yes. But when you've got enough inserts in the box, then they become almost an extension of the base set. because people almost treat them as effectively base cards. They're great
Yep.
fodder for my 75-cent bin. Like if I set up at another card show, they're perfect fodder for the 75-cent bin. But that isn't what you're thinking in your head when you're opening these packs, and you're not hoping to sit there and pull 75-cent cards to put in a 75-cent bin.
You don't want to open a box of 12 packs that cost you $150 and pull out a cool insert, and knowing that that pack probably costs you what, $12 a pack, I think is what they go for, 12 $13 a pack.
Well,
overall
that's
on the
what it is on the
boxes.
high end. It's a little less for the wrestling, but you're in the ballpark.
But
You're the right idea.
let's go with hockey here. But then know that that card that you got out of that $12 pack, you can go on ComC and find for 27 cents. Like,
Yeah.
that's a tough pill to swallow. It's like, oh, this is a cool card. Oh, I could have just went on here and bought it for a quarter. You know,
Yeah, and that's a
kind
tough
of the
sell.
reality of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough sell when you're trying to pitch it to somebody. Again, it's not an indictment on the design. It's not an indictment on the idea. It's just there's enough of these out there that within a couple of cases being broken, there's going to be enough of them available that the price will adjust almost immediately. I pulled a very good, the last of my trilogy of videos will cover one of the big pulls that I made. And unfortunately, I lost some of the footage of me opening the boxes, so I'll only be able to give the summary. But I pulled my two best cards in that last couple of boxes. One of them I've actually sold on eBay, so I'll reveal more in that video. One of them I actually sold on eBay, and it is tougher than a one in a case pull. It's not even guaranteed one per case. It's a very tough pull. And I made back 3/4 of a box.
Well, that
Which is good for one card, but it's
Yep.
a bet harder than one per case.
That's when I think that's when the reality set in for me, was when me and her, the last time that we opened Metal Universe Hockey, which I love the product, I love the set, it's fun ripping hockey, she enjoys it, but it was tough when we opened boxes and she literally hit Maddie Beniers rookie
Nice.
auto, her Kraken player, the best rookie of the set autograph. And then I was just curious to see, what that kind of hit went for. And I looked at it and I was like, this wasn't even worth one box. Like, that's when reality set in, that you're literally hitting the best rookie in the product, the autograph of the best rookie in the product, and it doesn't even cover what we spent on one box. That's tough to swallow.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately part of the reality of it. Like, again, I chase after the singles as well. I go on eBay and I look after the singles. Well, I found one of the autographs of the dentist. It was on eBay and somebody had one of them up there, and I made an offer and they accepted the offer. But I was able to get the autograph, which, by the way, right now it's hovering around 2 autographs per case, Brandon. Like 2 per case. Like, it's a very tough pull, all things considered. I was able to buy it for the equivalent of about a box and a half. Like, if I measure the price in boxes, but for the equivalent of a box and a half, I got what is a legitimately very tough pull. 100 card checklist. You're only getting maybe 2 per case. That's a tough pull. And that's still relatively affordable, all things considered. It holds some value, obviously, but imagine the seller. You're getting the equivalent of a box and a half.
Yep.
On a great pull. Good name. Like, you got all the components that you're asking for, right? You still didn't kill it. You didn't make this massive score. It was a good hit, but you didn't make this massive score.
This is, I know I collect vintage, and opening boxes aren't something that's even possible for most people who just collect vintage anymore, right? Because now you're just paying crazy money for boxes that are 50, 60, 70 years old.
Plus it's easy scanning. Go on.
Then there's that, yeah. But when I did do this in the 90s, and I was buying boxes and tons of packs and all that, I came to I had a lot less money. I mean, I was like a high school, college kid. I had next to no money, and it dawned on me then that this is not sustainable. And I can't keep buying box after box after box of Pro Set 1990 Pro Set looking for Sergei Fedorov rookies. and I can't be looking at O-Pee-Chee Premier, boxes and trying to get Yager rookies, and it didn't make any sense. And then when the boom really hit, and you started getting some all the '90s really nice inserts started coming out, and serial numbers and game used jerseys for the first time, the prices went through the roof, and I I couldn't do it. And that is when I decided I am only going vintage. I'll buy single cards, look at them, buy what I want, make sure the condition is what I can, what I like and what I can afford. And I haven't turned back. And when the boom hit the second time here during the pandemic, and people were just cracking boxes, gambling, and just losing everything. And then of course you have to double up. You got to buy another box, and hopefully you'll hit then. Maybe you'll break even. And then the people started getting in debt. And the stories that we heard back then about people maxing out multiple credit cards, getting more second mortgages on their homes, taking out loans, selling their cars, blowing through their kids' college funds and all their savings. It was brutal. And that's one of the things, just to kind of go back to what we were saying at the beginning about my prediction back then. That was the warning I was giving that January, is that this has to stop, because you're gonna get stuck with the hot potato.
Or we could go to Fund My Cards and triple down.
And that's what people were doing, and they took advantage.
No, that's what they are doing. Now, I'm talking about present day. I'm in present day right now.
What was it then? What was the business that popped up then that was doing that?
It was the one with Buddy from Investacard. It was Investacard.
The Investacard. Who was in Clubhouse all the time with us.
Yeah. So now he's gone, and now we've replaced him with Fund Your Cards. And other guy. And there's like 3 or 4 of them. I think Wharf Sports is doing a thing like that as well. By the way, the Fund Your Cards and I think Wharf Sports are 2 separate. I actually was putting them together. That is my bad. I actually think they're 2 separate, similar offerings, similar premise in terms of what they're doing. But it's funny that you mentioned, it's like, Eric, they have not heeded your warning. In fact, let's triple down instead.
Yeah. And let me tell you, and this is an opinion, it's my opinion. These companies are not like banks giving you a loan. They're like loan sharks giving you a loan. And I don't like the idea. I'm not a fan. I didn't like Investacard as much as the guy seemed like a nice fella, and was talking every day. We got to know him a little bit.
You like this little shtick? Hey, it's Eddie with Investacard.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I couldn't stand the guy.
It was really annoying. Like, it was extraordinarily annoying. It was very annoying.
It was different.
I couldn't stand him from day one when he was submitting to SGC with that whole little
finish your thought of it back in a second.
Send me your cards and then we'll instantly put them up on auction. Everybody knew auctioning SGC slabs was the worst idea ever. Like, especially back then, before they even had, where the place they're at today. And then it was just like all these trash cards being put in the slabs and everything. And then he came to the Chantilly show a couple times, and the guy he just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, he thought he ran the place.
Yeah.
And that just annoyed the piss out of me. Like,
oh yeah,
you're nobody special, dude.
He thought his boots are a little bit bigger than everybody else's at times, but all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying I know him, I'm just saying I was, Clubhouse was huge for a brief window in this hobby, and he was there all the time and talking, and I been in countless rooms with him back then and talked to him multiple times, and he didn't seem like the worst guy, but I still wasn't going to buy into this. I didn't think it was a good idea. I poo-pooed it, and I still am. I see it as loan sharks. I don't see it as a bank. Not that banks are much better than loan sharks. They'll take your house, but they won't break your kneecaps.
Listen, I'll have you know that I have both paid a good chunk of my house and done that based on the shadiness of banks. So I, for one, welcome our shadiness.
Yeah. Banks.
It's
Banks,
noble shadiness, Eric. Noble shadiness.
you know. So, anyways, yeah, I'm not in favor of it, and I see it as it taking advantage of. And we've been over this so many times. For what I'm about to say, this topic has been covered since the pandemic relentlessly, but I see these companies taking advantage of gambling addicts. That's how I see it.
Want to
And now
bet?
they're joined together.
Yeah. So that's what it is. It's that taking advantage of gambling addicts, because that's all box breaking is. I see it every day at work. Somebody comes in, buys either a $40 box or they buy a $2,000 box. Like kid today was in there negotiating on a $2,000 box. Are you gonna get $8,000 worth of stuff out of there? No, I've yet to see it. I have yet to see in the professional world of this business, standing there, somebody give me money, open up a product. I don't care if it's $40 or $2,000. Open it up in front of me and find a card worth more than the box they just paid. I've never seen someone get a $40 card out of a $39 box.
Oh, you just have bad luck. You have garbage
yeah.
luck then. I'm sorry. Like I've crushed that a million times.
Every day it's this was garbage. This is crap.
Well, so Eric, that's going to be the majority of the breaks, but
Yeah.
no, in terms of finding more value than the box all the time, like that's
Eric,
easy. That's not
I'm
difficult.
telling you, I sit there and I watch. Now, what people buy and then go home and find is different. I'm talking about people who sit there at the counter and open it up in front of us, and we throw away all the empty, wax packs and all that. They always leave pissed, and they mostly leave the stuff because they don't even want it, and I have to go put it all away. But we get it for free because they storm off mad and leave the stuff.
Pause. So I am going to refrain from being 5% less mature, but I am merely going to state, as a matter, I am a man of peace, but I'm also a man of facts.
Yes,
and now it's a moment, Brandon, it is a moment of Zen where I shall offer some facts. First, it sounds to be like the place that Eric speaks of, the proprietorship, has particularly bad boxes. They seem to have like some real bad luck with these boxes. That's the first thought that comes to mind.
Rigged. There's no.
Like it sounds like his hashtag anti-rigged. It's like anti-rigged.
Or Eric. We need to know the truth here.
Okay.
CT scanners?
Where's the scanner?
I was gonna say it's like man, every time somebody opens a box, they never find anything good, and it's like in the showcase, all good stuff, shiny.
And we know that what's his name, Phil?
And
is his name Phil?
A big sign that says employees only. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Well, now we know why you have been accustomed to the injuries to get access to the scans.
Yeah, they need scans to scan all those injuries. Eric has quite the laundry list. It's like, it's like my old high school days, Eric.
I go to work sometimes.
I had to go to the doctor's office a lot in high school, Eric. Eric, I missed enough days that I missed the equivalent of a full year in high school. And I had legitimate doctor's notes and parents' notes all the time because Carlos Sr. is corrupt like me. The point is that I was able to miss a lot of days, and one of two things was true. Either I had terminal cancer or the fix was in. I leave it to you to decide which one of these two things is true. But I seem to be a very sick boy in high school, and somehow I miraculously recovered. I'm just throwing it out there. The fix seems to be in. I'm very curious about the sports world. Additional questions on Friday. But that was my first thought. Second thought. What I'm hearing right now and what I'm seeing right now is that it sounds to me like Eric needs to watch the BIC Wrestling YouTube channel, because you will see boxes that in fact surpass the value of the box that was opened. And I can show you on video exactly where they're pulled.
What happens? I just don't think, I think it not happening is more frequent.
Eric, we literally said yes. Mathematically, but just so we're all on the same page here, you should, quote unquote, lose money on most of the boxes. The only way that it is mathematically possible for anything to be worth above the value of a box is that the ROI on most it needs to be a negative ROI. It is not possible mathematically for every box to be even or for every box to be a winner if you're going to have a winner. You
Right,
have
so
to have losers for the winner to work.
Right. Let me just finish this thought, and then we'll, I'm done. What I'm saying is, only a small portion of people stay and open this stuff in front of us. Most people take it and leave. What happens when they go home is I don't know. So I'm saying for 4 years, that I've been working, actually working there, I have yet to see someone open something and start running around the store like they hit the jackpot. The majority of the people find nothing. But because the BIC wrestling channel exists and they watch it and they see that it is possible to find a card worth more than the box, they
It is
know
possible.
that the unicorn is out there and the gambling addict is chasing that unicorn, thinking it's going to happen to them next time. If I just buy one more, if I buy a case, if I do this, if I increase my odds, it's all going to come back to me. No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen at casinos, and it doesn't happen with box breaks.
You know, one thing that I have learned with cards and breaks and all that other stuff. Most cases, if you are chasing or if you are, and when I say chasing, you're buying and hoping for that golden ticket, it never happens. The biggest hits that I've ever had in opening boxes were when I just unexpectedly bought a box or two or just wanted to pick something up to have some fun or whatever. I'll tell you right now, the biggest hit that I've ever pulled was in 2017. It was out of a $15 mega box from Target. I was not even looking for this player's card.
I am offended by both your pronunciation of mega box and also Target. But continue.
The Tajay thing
My bad.
really bothered me.
But a $15 box, and I pulled a card that I sold an hour and a half after I listed it for $3,750. I was not looking for that player, did not expect to pull anything like that. I just bought a couple boxes to have some fun.
Yeah, there is something to be said. So, kind of to your point. So, I'll bring it back into seriousness here, so that we can shift over to the main topic. But there is something to be said. Again, your mileage may vary, small sample sizes, anecdotal evidence, all that stuff. All those caveats given. I do find that it is more common than people think that a lot of the bigger hits will tend to be when you kind of just go with the flow. You're opening it because you feel like it, because you're getting a kick out of it, whatever, and it tends to happen. And actually, since Eric brought it up, since we were joking about it, if you do check out that BIC wrestling channel, link in the description, I recently got 6 boxes of the AEW Upper Deck flagship. And the first 4 boxes were mostly meh. But I felt it was appropriate. Like, instead of just, I could have literally opened all 6 boxes, recorded all 6 boxes, and just shown you 2 boxes where I actually did very well. And it would have still been accurate. It still would have been true. But it would have been an inaccurate story relative to the 6 boxes that I opened. And it isn't to say that in the 4 boxes I didn't get anything, but it was kind of underwhelming relative to the last 2 where I did much better. But I also opened 6 boxes. So if you want to tell the story in totality and truthfully, it is better to show all 6 boxes being opened. Now, I had an issue where I lost the video on the last one, so the last one, you're just going to get a summary. You'll have to take my word for it, because otherwise I'm giving you the good break at the end. I actually recorded them all the same. But I did summaries for all of them. Actually, it was 9 videos in total. Video 1, 2, 3 was the first box break, already on the channel. Video number 2 was the second 2 boxes. 3 videos again, all spliced together. That was the second one. And the third one had 3 videos as well. And for some reason, the first 2 videos got corrupted or got deleted or whatever, and they were gone. But I have the outcome, and the stuff is on eBay, and I've sold one of the cards. And I've showcased it when I pulled it anyway. But the reality of it is that if I just left it at that, I only have video evidence of Mebricks. Those are the ones on the channel. It was just like, it was okay. Again, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't amazing. It was just okay. I pulled basically what I was guaranteed to pull. I pulled that, and it was kind of the bare minimum, just enough. The last couple of ones I did better, and it wasn't like I pulled a $500 card or a $1,000 card. But I did pull a couple of decent cards. I pulled an autograph, and I pulled a nice numbered insert, and that was in the last 2 boxes. But I had also opened 2 boxes on release day, and those were also kind of meh. So if we do the math, I opened 8 boxes, 6 of them were kind of just, they're okay. And then 2 of them actually had something decent. So overall, if you had opened one of those boxes individually, you wouldn't have been that impressed. In the totality of it, I did okay, but not amazing. And I think that's a more realistic experience that most people would have over the course of a series of boxes. Other ones, I've done tremendously. So you're getting a mixed bag. You're getting the ones that are okay, you're getting the ones that are good, and you're getting the ones that are impressive. Like I've pulled multiple one of ones out of Allure. And those were all on the channel as well. So it's one of those things where like you're getting both. You're getting the good, the bad, and the kind of okay. And I feel like that's the most honest version that you can showcase if you're going to do that at all. So I think that's one of those things. To Eric's point, is a lot of folks just make it a highlight reel. And if it's just a highlight reel, well, then you're not going to see all the boxes that you open that were just kind of eh.
Right.
And that's a more realistic experience. Most of them are going to be like that. And then once in a while, if you're lucky, you'll get a good one.
A lot of people don't show the bad because they know that, well, especially if it's for content, because they know people don't want to see, or they won't engage in the bad boxes. Like they want to see the big hits. Oh my God, yelling, screaming, and all that. So
Right.
I felt the feedback I've gotten is that I felt like some people appreciated that I showed boxes that were kind of average.
mm-hmm.
They appreciated that. I was like, oh, okay, well that gives me a more realistic view of like, yeah, okay. It's not like you had a horrific box, but it wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't anything special, but it was kind of an average box breaking experience with it. And I feel like that's a more accurate representation of what a lot of them are going to be.
And a lot of people that are interested in like products or sets or opening, even as much negativity as breakers get, a lot of people will sit and watch breaks just to gauge and see, like, if it's a 12 box case, how many of them are going to be duds? Like, if I go buy a couple boxes, what is my expectation? And you watch a few breaks, you can kind of gauge like what the average box is going to be, and then make a determination on whether or not you want to go spend the money on it.
Mm-hmm. And I think another thing it does for you as well, and I'll mention this before we move on, is that it also gives you a better gauge on which cards are actually tough to pull. Mm-hmm. It'll actually give you a better... you can look at the odds, but that'll only give you one vantage point. If you're watching a couple of cases get broken and you play the hypothetical, if I had bought into the break for my character or my team or whatever, but I'm watching break after break after break, and I'm not seeing very much of what, I wouldn't have been very successful. I can tell you, I opened those 8 boxes.
Buying.
Exactly. It tells you what's really rare. It actually tells you what to kind of key in on because, hey, that's actually really tough to pull because I'm watching all these breaks and I'm not seeing much of it get out there. And that's basically what happened with that. I opened the 8 boxes looking for Dennis PC stuff. And then one of the guys on the Facebook group was opening a case and I bought into a spot in the case, pulled some nice cards. It took a couple more off my checklist, which is good. No complaints there. It worked out well. But between 20 boxes, I'm still missing most of the stuff that I'm looking for. It tells you, like, just getting out of packs and getting out of boxes, not easy. So there's still a lot of stuff missing that I'm looking for, and I'll have to keep my eyes open because obviously, very clearly, they printed enough that it's spaced out. The hits some of the inserts I'm looking for, some of the hits and some of the numbered cards are actually proving to be tougher to come by, even based on what the odds seem to be. So it's a good note. Because now, okay, then it'll make more sense to really be more aggressive on some of these cards versus what it would have been if I had just looked at the odds in a vacuum. So with that said, let me shift over. Let me actually use that as a segue, talking about aggressively going after something. One of the things we were talking about on the Discord, I'll set it up a little bit, then Brandon, if you want to add any flavor to it. We were talking about a couple of the collectors there that we're talking about maybe going after a one-of-one. And you're kind of doing a comparison, really, of, okay, you're looking at it, but in one way, the way I described it is you're almost looking for reasons not to go after it because you're being a little bit pickier. You're not as into this. You're not as into that. Versus a lot of times we'll look at maybe a certain card or whatever the case may be, and maybe we'll attack it more aggressively. Maybe we're willing to pay more for it because we really want to add it to the collection for whatever our reasons are. Everybody's got their own reasons. But one of the things that I was saying to you, and we can kind of expand it out, and this plays into when we have our discussions about the national as well. Why do some people move heaven and earth, reschedule things, make sure they book everything well in advance, really plan it out, set money aside, work extra shifts, do whatever they're doing to try to get out to this event where other people go like, okay, it'd be cool to go, but things really got to fall into place for me. It's the same event. It's the same idea. But why is one kind of like, look, if the wind changes direction in the wrong way, I'm out. Whereas the other person is like, short of a natural disaster, I'm going to crawl over broken glass on hands and knees to get to this. Well, it's the same thing in cards. Why do some people try really, really hard, work, accommodate, try to do all these things, sell some cards off to fill up the coffers in order to have this money ready for it? Versus another one where like, yeah, it'd be cool to have. Maybe I'll put a bid on it. There's a big difference between those two extremes and kind of our approach to it. So, Brandon, you want to add anything to that? And then we can kind of discuss it a little bit.
So the point here is I don't know if it is because of today's situation in the hobby, or if there's something like I have specific players that I enjoy collecting. Most of them are not top tier players, and I'm not even saying that in a joking manner, but obviously Robertson has demand. He's one of the more star players of Dallas, and uh, had a couple great seasons there, got some attention and everything else. So sometimes his stuff can get a little pricey, and I have to gauge what I want to go after, what I don't want to go after, mostly based on price point. But then I have guys like in baseball that I can almost buy anything of theirs that pops up at what to most would probably be a reasonable price. Some of it may, a seller might put it up at a higher price than I would want to pay, but there's, I guess the way that I look at things is there's pieces out there that when they pop up, if it's within a realistic price of affordability, and do I think this person's lost their mind on what they got it priced at, that I would be highly interested in. And when I'm looking at those pieces, I'm not like critiquing it in condition and that sort of thing, because they're pieces that I know I'm likely never going to see again. And if they are like, if I'm interested in it, or if it fits in with what I'm looking for, and it's at a price I want it at, I'll be honest, y'all know I've been doing grading for many, many years. I've sent thousands of my own personal cards in. I have tons of cards that I have not had graded of my personal collection. Here's one that sits right here on my desk. 101, awesome Jackie Robinson game use patch. I love the way they did it with the autograph on the acetate that covers it. Has the MLB authentication sticker showing which game and date and everything it come from. But I didn't get it graded. Why? Because I don't care. Like I don't care about what the grade is on this card. It's not appealing to me if it's a 10 or a 9 or whatever. It's the card. And I guess some people are so enamored by the condition level, even on a 101, that it may turn them off if they think, oh, well, it's got a white corner or something like that. And so it's an interesting perspective on the routes that collectors go, because I think some folks, if they're able to obtain it, especially if it's something really rare, we went back to last week, the talking about pricing of 101s and stuff like that, and collector versus the flipper and that sort of thing. And then I think you can actually break down collectors of just how bad they want to add a piece, like you were saying, or
Yeah.
how much they talk themselves out of it because they are so enamored in the conditional or whatever perspective of the card.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to add, and actually, Eric, this plays right into your wheelhouse. So let me put this one on a T for you, because this will be
Oh,
this is a good one here for you to play into.
oh, I like that.
One of the points I was saying to Brandon when I was talking to him about this exact thing was that one of the ways that this can manifest itself, what he's talking about, and more of an emphasis on, I only want it if it's in this higher grade, even if it's something like a one of one, where, well, it's a one of one, you don't really have a choice. You either want it or you don't. But what it really comes down to is, if it's something we really desire, and this is the way I phrase it, I want to use the phrasing because I think it's valid here. If it's something we really want, our thought process will go to, how can I make this happen? That's the question we'll ask ourselves. The question will be, how can I make this happen? Because we want the thing. So maybe we'll pay more. Maybe we'll set the record price. I've done that before with some Medano cards. I wanted the thing, therefore I was willing to pay more aggressively. And I wasn't going to be as picky if the back of the card is a little bit chipped, because I know it's a difficult card to come by. Therefore, I'm not going to get a million chances at it. I don't have a trillion choices. If I skip out on this one, it doesn't guarantee me I'm going to get another shot at one in 6 months, a year down the road, whatever. So I'm not looking for excuses out of it. Other side of the coin, yes, you're interested, but it's less important. It's a lower priority. It's more of a nice to have. It's like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to add it. Then you're looking for reasons why it's not quite perfect. And what I mean by
Mhm.
that is, you're going to be pickier, but you can also afford to be pickier because you're not as bothered if you miss out on it. Maybe there's more copies available, so there's no urgency. It doesn't have to be this copy. If it doesn't quite fit your standard, maybe you can let that one go and maybe you take a stab at something else down the road. Or maybe you've got another priority that's a higher priority that you're willing to put in that effort for. So it means if I commit some money to this, I'm actually taking money out of this other thing that I may be interested in as well. So it doesn't mean that you're not a collector, that you're not interested. It just means that your level of interest is lower. So you've got more excuses of why you would get out of it and maybe focus your attention somewhere else, as opposed to the other scenario where you go for it. So the example that I would use here, if the opportunity presented itself and you were able to get an amazing deal within your budget on a Bobby Orr Boston Bruins rookie card, again, a minor league issue, but a Boston Bruins rookie card, the 66, wood grain borders and all. You're not going to sit there and stare at every single edge and corner and everything and be like, but it must be pristine. It must be perfect. No, you're going to be like, okay, what is the price relative to this? If I can get a nice looking copy that is within my budget, a couple of flaws are okay, because that's the reason it's within my budget. That's the reason I can actually afford to buy the thing. You're not looking for excuses out. You're saying, if it fits within my budget, you're saying, okay, how can I make this happen? You're asking a different question. So you're not obsessing over it. Now, if you're a multi millionaire, you can buy the nicest one. You still want one, but you're like, no, I must have the best. Well, then, yeah, you're going to scrutinize it with a fine tooth comb. And like, no, I really want like a super nice. It could be 100 copies in front of you. You're going to scrutinize every individual one. And if it's not quite right, nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Even if the pricing is fine, even if the pricing is fair relative to the card you're looking at. But for you, it's not as important to get a copy. It's to get everything's got to be exactly what I want. I'm not compromising on anything. Whereas if the budget is right and it looks nice and everything, you're like, oh, that'd be great to add. I would love to add that to my collection. How can I make this happen? So that's kind of the differentiator between the two. So feel free to share.
That's every day on eBay. That's every day at work. That's every weekend at a card show. I will not sacrifice my family's financial well-being for cardboard with people's pictures on it. This is a hobby. It's fun. Yes, I've made some big purchases. I've discussed those with my wife, who's, we do everything as a team. My money's her money, vice versa. I will not bankrupt myself over this. And that goes back again to what we were talking about earlier, where I've seen people do it. I see customers come in at work and bankrupt themselves. We saw people bankrupt themselves during the pandemic. We talked about that already.
Real quick, Eric, I don't want us to go. I think you're making some valid points, but I don't want to go too far away from what we were discussing. I'm actually talking about, in this case, you're not bankrupting anybody. It's within the budget. You're all good.
It's within the budget. That's the important part.
So in this case, we're assuming that it's within the budget.
So with me, every single thing I get, I have to think about my budget first and then decide, does this make sense to do? And yeah, you look at it and go, okay, it's $300. I can accept it not being perfect. It's $30. I want it perfect because that's my budget. But like you were saying, a multi-millionaire is saying, this is 300,000. All right. I want it perfect. Well, for me, it's like for $30, I want it perfect. For 300, I can take a dent. I can take a small crease. I can have rounded corners. That's a lot of money to me.
Yeah. And scarcity, now, let me throw this wrinkle at it for you for this as well. Scarcity can also play into this. It can be $30 or $300, but if it's something that doesn't come up more than once in a blue moon and it's a tough card and you want to add that piece to your collection, then you may be more willing to compromise on certain condition things because you just know it's rare. It's just that difficult to come by where you're like, I don't expect perfection because the likelihood is perfection doesn't exist for this item. So you just say, okay, I got to adjust accordingly.
Look at it in this scenario. And I don't want to get morbid here, but you work on the 69.
Ooh, Brandon's unaliving people. Go on.
The set. You work on your 69 set that's signed.
I'm glad you said set because you started with the 69 and we looked at your card from earlier. You must be stopped, sir.
The set. So
got a new one Saturday when Joe Watson came in. Go ahead.
But let's put this scenario out there, okay? Let's say it's a player that maybe only signed 3 of that set ever, and he's passed away, and you're not getting any more of them.
Right.
And you find one, and it's like the last one you need to complete your set.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not getting Jacques Plante. I'm not getting Tim Horton. Yeah, go ahead.
But they're not in... It's not in the greatest condition, but it's in a manageable price range for you to purchase.
Yeah.
Are you going to say, it's got this, it's got this, it's got this. I don't really want it because it's not pristine. Or are you going to say, oh my God, that's awesome. I found it.
Get an autographed 6970 Jacques Plante. I don't care.
In your budget, all good.
I don't care if the thing is only half a card.
And that's the point. That's this discussion. The reason why we brought this up is that because your interest in acquiring this item to add it to your collection that you're working on supersedes the pickiness that may come with a more commonly available item. More commonly available is one part, or if it's a lesser project, like lower down the totem pole of projects, well, yeah, you come across one. Oh, that'd be cool to add. Okay, but it's got to be just right. Pricing's got to be tremendous. Like you're gonna have more reasons to say no than reasons to say yes. But if it's a high priority thing, oh my God, I've been chasing after this for years. Like I wanted to find this thing. You're not going to quibble if a corner is slightly dinged. That's not going to throw you off nearly as much because you're like, but how's the price? Oh, it's reasonable. Oh, okay. And it's the thing I've been chasing after. And it's a tough piece. Yeah. Corner ding isn't going to dissuade me here. It's like, how can we make this happen? What do we need to do? Because let's get this deal done.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut the card right in half, but if the lower part has his auto on it, and it's a 6970 card, I want it because it's going to be they're impossible. It's kind of like with Ken Dryden. He doesn't like signing. He refuses to sign. He wants nothing to do with signing anything. The few items out there that are signed go for an absolute ridiculous amount of money. I will probably never have a Ken Dryden autograph of anything, as much as I would love it. the people who have the money can afford. I just saw one on eBay, a rookie. I think it was his rookie. No, it was this set. It was the 72, 73 set, and it's autographed. The guy wants $1,000 for it. I don't have $1,000 to put towards a piece of cardboard with someone's name on it. I can't. It's irresponsible. But so there are certain things out there that you make good decisions about, and you have to walk away, and that, or I got to sell $1,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah. But in the case of what we're talking about, though, if it was the right item, right situation, and you could come to it, if it was a more serious item, then you would sit there and go, okay, hey, can you hold it for me? I need to sell $1,000 worth of stuff. And if it's an important enough piece and they say yes, you're like, okay, then I know what I need to hold on to work.
Right. If one came into work, I would somehow possibly find a way.
Yeah.
I'd work for free for a while until I made $1,000.
Yeah. But it would need to be the right item is the point. The point is it would need to be something worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just anything, because for a lot of stuff, it'd be like, again, that's why I separate nice to have. There's the grail pieces. There's the ones that are the chase. These are the ones that we're looking for, like top of the want list. This is the very tippy top of the want list here. We'll put a lot more effort, #effort. We'll put more of that to try to find that, and we'll accommodate and we'll make things happen. But if it's just a nice to have, then the wind changes direction the wrong way. Not today.
I'll put it into another perspective here. If the Michael Taylor Superfractor Auto ever came up, I don't care if it's been folded in half 3 times. If it is at a price that makes sense for me to spend the money on buying, I don't care in that situation, the condition. Obviously, it's not going to be very nice. But it's a card that I have hunted for 7+ years now and have never even seen a photo of. I don't know if I ever will see this card. So if it appeared and it had some damage to it, I don't care. I'm buying it. Just simple as that.
Right. And I think that's basically the differentiator we put in. And I also use the example of the National. We made 1,018 jokes about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where some folks, again, literally would walk over broken glass, hands and knees, bleeding, and whatever they need to do. No sacrifice is too great. They'll do whatever they can to make it out. For myself, it's not as big a priority. It's one of those things where for a long time it would have been like, yeah, if I could have swung it, right circumstances and everything, it would have been just right. At this point, my interest level is so low that it would take nothing to throw me off of it. Even if it was, you could almost put it in front of me and it'd be like, got to cross the street? That seems like a lot of work. Eric, crossing a whole street? Oh my God, not today.
No, thou shalt not effort.
Yeah, that's like going to the expo in the morning.
Yeah.
It's verboten. Can't be done. Afraid not.
I mean, I'm there banging on the doors, at 6 a.m. saying, let me in. You're like,
yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. Yeah. So Brandon, there's your big contrast. Eric is there, and it's only because they booted him out and said you can't stay overnight and sleep here. Leave, sir.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Two opposite ends of the spectrum. Where I'm like, I'll get around to it when I get around to it. I'm gonna go on my brunch. I'll ease in. I'll mosey in on my time. It's gotta be on my terms, Brandon. I got terms. It's got to be on my terms.
Terms, all right.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's worked for me for years, Eric. I've been doing this at the expo for much, much longer. You're about a young Padawan in attending this expo.
I know. I understand.
Yeah, the Burrell and I have been around this block many a time.
Yes, you have the expo experience over me. No doubt.
Yeah. So again, it's to each their own. Like Bobby will be there early because he knows how to get certain deals done. So for him, it behooves him to go early and find the things that he's looking for. So there is a method to his madness. It makes total sense for him for what I need, not required. I can afford to take my time no hurry, no rush, and I can still have a great experience because I do know a lot of folks in there. I can walk around, say hello, and chat. Over the course of days, I will get a chance to chat with a lot of those folks, and we'll still get some deals. What's funny is even not running in the front door first day, beginning of show, I still get deals done every show. Every single show, I find something. And sometimes people are like, well, how did you find that on day 3 or whatever? It's like, guys, there's so much stuff. Stuff falls through the cracks all the time. And some people know to hold it for me. Some people will literally hold it for me. Like, hey, come by my booth and check it out. I may have something for you. Go by. Yep, I will take that for sure.
Yeah, it is. There's so much stuff. It's so much stuff. It's not a 25 table show at the the Jewish Community Center. All right, this is just thousands of tables, and each table has piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of stuff on it. You won't leave disappointed. It's insane. So yeah, you don't have to be there at 6 a.m.
Yep.
Bobby, has all these contacts and these people, and he wants to get in there before the public, and he wants to go to this person, and this person who flew in from Edmonton, and he knows they have good stuff that out in Western Canada that he can't get in Toronto area. So boom, he goes and makes a deal beforehand with that guy. Joe Average, you'll find something to go home with. I don't think in the history of the expo, a hockey collector didn't walk out with something. There's no way you go there, spend time, and go, yeah, I just didn't find anything.
Paul's done that. Paul has totally done that. Paul's a special case. Paul's totally done that.
And Paul flies in from Edmonton and then doesn't buy anything.
He's done that. Yeah.
Well, you know how I feel about that.
He's looking for very specific stuff, man. Like he's like he needs the thing that he's looking for. It's got to be the thing.
He needs to justify flying in from Edmonton.
Clearly not. So it seemed. He goes to concerts, local concerts, Eric. Like he takes advantage. Last time he went to a couple of concerts, I believe, if memory serves me. But nonetheless, there is and Andy, she blinded me from refractors, has done the national where the running joke is how few things he buys. So clearly it's doable. It can be done. Yeah, it can be done. Buy a drink at the concession stand. So I don't know what to tell you. But nonetheless, so yeah, we wanted to touch on that. And basically the takeaway on this one was that it is interesting, the contrast between our respective approach. And by the way, that's for everybody. Everybody's got decisions to make. I use the card show as an example, but that's just one example. It can be a card. It can be a one of one. It can be one of many. It can be just something you're chasing for a long time. But you will notice it. If you pay attention and are just observant, you will know the difference between when somebody is like, I'm looking for this thing, I'm looking to track down, and just you can hear the way they'll phrase it. If it's a grail, if it's a piece they're really chasing after, the question will be, how can I get this done? If it's just something they're like, maybe, it's going to be like, if something else comes up or change of wind, that's all it'll take to throw you off of it. They're not that interested, relatively.
There's actually a piece right now that kind of goes into what you were saying that I'm looking at. One thing I don't have in my collection is a bat barrel. I have bat knobs,
Sure.
but I don't have a bat barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed last night that one came up, and it's of a player I collect. I really like the card. I like the way they did the barrel, all of that. It has a lot of attributes that I really like. But then I'm talking myself out of it because, and this might be more of a reason than like it's not a condition thing. I can't tell by the wording on the card if it's game used.
Sure.
And it is a 101 and all of that, but I'm like, do I want to spend bat barrel money on just a piece of wood that, yes, technically is a bat barrel of that player's bat, but wasn't game used? Like, does that one make sense for me? And so I'm like debating that because I'm like, I don't know where I would place that value wise, like how I got to do a little bit more research on it, and it's one of those ones where the manufacturer just like kind of twists the statement, and it doesn't just come straight out and say game used memorabilia. So, but yeah, that's a perfect example. Like I want the card, but at the same time, I'm like questioning whether I want that one.
Yeah. And that's fair. And when it's something like that, then it's not going to be about moving heaven and earth. It's going to be about, okay, and it could be something as simple, Eric, as, okay, I'm interested, but at the right price.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
in that moment,
yeah,
it's going to be like, you know what? I literally have the money to buy it at the price that you're asking for. Totally. And if it was something that I desperately wanted, it would be buy it now, no question, done. But because it's kind of something like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to have, then it's like, okay, but I want a bargain. There's a difference, because then it could be like, yeah, at a bargain, then totally. Yeah, let's get her done. But if it's at the main price, like, yep, I have the cash right in my hand right now, but I'd rather just hold it then for something I really want more, something that's higher up my
yeah,
priority scale. And that's all perfectly valid. That's completely fine. So I would say is kind of the arching theme is a lot of the stuff we've talked about. You folks have to be the stewards of your own priorities. You have to decide, like, what do you value? I've asked in the past, why do you collect? What is your why? Well, this is a different question. This is, what do you value? What do you care about? Because that may be the thing that you're going to be willing to put in that extra effort to go that extra mile, as opposed to something that's like, yeah, it's just kind of cool. And I'm finding myself currently in the stage where I'm going after certain things. I've got certain goals and projects and targets that I've emphasized. For those ones, I'll go that extra mile. And for the other ones, it's got to be a bargain. It's got to be the right price. It's got to be the right situation. Does that mean I wouldn't do it? No. You offer me a smoking deal, we can still totally do it. But it's got to be a smoking deal. Whereas the other ones, yeah, I'm willing to be more aggressive. I'm willing to push towards, I'll give you full comps or whatever that is, because I really want that thing. With the other one, it's like, no, you got to give me a deal. You give me a deal? Sure. But outside of that, I can wait. I'll wait for the next one to come around. It's okay. So just some stuff to think about and some things to throw out there. So this one will be a little bit more controlled episode, folks. We'll go into, I think we'll do a little bonus coverage. I'm kind of enjoying the bonus coverage, but I'm going to shift away. So for this, we're done. We're concluded on this one. Love to get your thoughts on it, though. And you can tell Eric how he needs to chase after. He's got to go after the professional Bobby Orr stuff. He's got to go after, the Blackhawk stuff. We'll talk more about it on Friday. Because there's some amazing items, like grail items that you can chase after.
Amazing.
Glorious. Amazing. Sensational. So we can have that. And then you can talk about that some more. Eric Sanderson Door, you can send all your hate mail to him as always. Feel free, do so. And Brandon, Bobbles and Bottle Cards, potentially known associate at 540 Flips. He's got some connections. Some interesting connections. And again, given the fact of the card of the week, there may be some interesting underbellies there. Like, there's some questions that I have. Like, who was responsible?
I should have brought it up to share this and to close out on this, because I have to say some of the people that I became really, really, really great friends with, I find it humorous yet coincidental that most of them don't even call me by my actual name. Um, I am a man of many names, because the package, and Brad blamed it on Sherry. So Sherry, I apologize if it wasn't actually your fault and you watched this. But the package was addressed to Brendan Bobbles. Now, James, that I talk to quite often, that comes down and goes to Chantilly, he also has forever called me Brendan. I've had many names over the course of my life. But anyway, shout out to my post office, because I've always praised them. It's been a blessing having them, but they forgot the box number, and sometimes it cuts it off when you're doing the shipping program. But they still, without the right first name and with my last name being placed as Bobbles, they
Your
still
last
knew.
name is not Bobbles?
What?
No.
Oh my God.
But
What?
maybe
Scandalous.
maybe I should look into seeing how you can officially change your name, because
Yeah.
hey, they got it to me still without my PO box being on the package and without my proper name. So shout out to the U.S. Postal Service.
Shout out.
Amazing. Sensational. So, well, that's it. So from Eric Sanderson D'Or and Brandon, soon to be known as Brandon Bobbles, the artist soon to be known as Bobbles.
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing. And unassociated 540 flips. Episode 96, we're getting closer to the spooky season episode, so we're looking forward to that. Thank you to AMG Collectibles, amgcollectibles.ca for their support of the podcast as always. And now for those of you on the YouTubes and honestly the audio version of it, because I'm not editing this differently, it's going to be the same. We're going to shift over into bonus coverage. So that's it for this one. We're out.
A few moments later.
All right, now that we're in black and white and Brandon is more comfortable, we're in the past now. So we've lost all color. We didn't get a chance to talk about the NFL thing, but I want to do it for a couple minutes real quick. So Brandon, how do you feel now your team's good? Look at you guys.
I
beating
said
the
it in
Buffaloes.
the
Beating the
Discord
Buffaloes.
a couple weeks ago that I had no fears because week 1 we had a chance to beat Kansas City.
No fears.
The missed field goal hurt. The toe, the toe on the line obviously hurt.
So you're saying he didn't toe the line?
He did not toe the line. And then the game against the Raiders, we should have won that. I mean, they had the Raiders pretty handily and coughed it up in the fourth quarter like they almost did to Dallas. So, but after 2 weeks going into Dallas, I was pretty comfortable. My concern with the Dallas game was that Dallas, I didn't think they could be bad 2 weeks in a row, which they did.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
And then going into Buffalo, so that was my only concern. If we lost to Dallas and went 0-3 and then had to go into Buffalo, there would have been some concerns there. But dude, they looked great yesterday. Derrick Henry at 30 years old is a young man. Because
I love how we're pretending 30 is old. Only in running back terms.
For running back
running
years. But first play of the game, 87 yards. I mean, hell, you can't start much better than that. So
well, he's still a big man, and he's still got his legs are still good. The key with him as a running back is that his legs are still fresh, and he's still a big man who can throw his weight around. Because the other players still fear the stiff arm. His stiff arm's still deadly. Yeah. So he can still push people around and just get them out of the way if he wants to. And I think it's good for him because right now what he's doing is he's basically and Adrian Peterson, I think, had a good, I want to say age 30 or age 31 season. So there's certain guys who can be physical backs and still be able to push people around. There's a lot of guys that don't want to stand in Derrick Henry's way. There's an intimidation factor because he can, and if he gets up, what was impressive for him though, is when he got into the open field and got ahead of steam, he can still move pretty fast. He's not just a big guy, but he's a big guy moving at speed. So there's not a lot of guys that want to stand in the way and then get hit once he's getting going in full speed.
They talked about his training regimen and his diet and the guys when he came to the Ravens and stuff and they were talking to them, they're like, he's insane. They're like, we've never seen someone train and be as on a strict diet as he is, and he definitely crafts his body to do what he does. And I loved it when we had Mark Ingram on the team. I thought that was one of the better chances the Ravens had. And when I heard we got Derrick Henry, we don't have the greatest of wide receivers and stuff, but I love that team because they're built to run, and you have a back like that, it's scary. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this the rest of the season.
Makes sense. I get you. So Eric, as far as your Patriots are concerned, can we sum it up like this?
Patriots didn't play this week.
Yeah. I think it pretty much sums it up. I feel like that covers it. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Patriots didn't play this week.
Yeah. So with the audio version, I'll see if I can bump up the crickets a little louder. See if I can get them a little louder. StreamYard is letting me down on that one a little bit, but we'll see if we can fix it. We'll fix it in post.
I don't know. I'm a little confused to what you're asking me about for a game that never happened. So
yeah, you have the same problem with the Bruins. This selective amnesia is very concerning. Nonetheless, we'll move on. Look, I'll say this. It made me laugh because I for the most part, when it comes to the Discord, I on football Sundays, it's fun to watch because of the back and forth. It's mostly watching Paul basically try to troll and pick a fight with everyone. which is hysterical. And it's like literally just I just watch him lob grenades. It's magical to watch. It really is. It's just like he's just out there lobbing grenades back and forth. And I kind of just sit back and chill and just enjoy it. I'll take my little shots in there when I can, but for the most part, I'm just watching it. I'll say this. It's been fun watching the post show thing. I went to the Packer forum, and it is hysterical watching the fanboys lose their mind. At the half, they wanted to fire the coach, cut the quarterback. I think they wanted to dig up the body of Lambeau and try to resurrect him. Like it was problematic. The whole thing was. I'm sitting there like, Jordan Love came back for this game. They had two good games, and by the way, now Matt LaFleur, at the half, Matt LaFleur sucks, even though he won 2 games with Willis. And like, seems like a pretty good coaching job to me, considering he just got there, and they were able to build a game plan around using what he could do. Jordan Love didn't play in the preseason, and that's unfortunate the way that these teams operate now. He didn't play in the preseason. They played a game in Brazil in a weird field that ended up getting him injured because of the weirdness of it. And by the way, players were slipping all over the place in the Brazil game. Like it was dangerous, that particular field in that game. So basically he played one game, had like 3 weeks off because of the injury, and then came into this game. And by the second half of the game, he was playing better. And I think part of it was just the throws were offline. He was trying to do the weird thing. Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes are like the only 2 guys that I know that are really good at the off-platform throws. Like when they're at their best, they can do those off-platform throws and still be able to be fairly accurate. Jordan Love has a good arm and he can move and throw as well, but not to that level. And he was trying to do these off-platform throws as he was trying to move, and he wasn't moving quickly because of the leg. So he's trying to do off-platform throw. Well, guess what happens to both quarterbacks if they try to do off-platform? Your range is off. You're too high or you're too low. So you're throwing it at their feet or you're throwing it over. Well, the first half, he's throwing it up or he's throwing it at their feet. The accuracy is not there. It's just the touch is not there. By the end of the game, he was starting to make a couple of throws, or actually the accuracy was starting to get keyed in a little bit, which isn't surprising. Do a few more throws. The problem is, overall, I don't want to see 50 throws. It was like the anti-Willis type of game. It was 50 throws, which I don't want to see. But then in the end, Minnesota almost coughed it up. Darnold started to be a little Darnoldy. And I think the Minnesota folks were like, oh, no, we've avoided it to this point. But he was good for the most part. But towards the second half, they were starting to make some mistakes, giving up some turnover. 5 turnovers, though, that's not going to get it done, including, 3 interceptions. But one of the interceptions bounced off 2 Packers. So, stuff happens. But what was interesting to me was that in the end, I don't have a kicker. They lost by 2 and they missed 2 field goals. And I'm like, that could be a problem. I expect them to get better next week. I'm not worried. This game, I would have loved to have snuck out and stolen it. I would love to have stolen it. But my expectations were not that after going down 28-0. I didn't expect that. But I'm glad they didn't give up. And this maybe kind of plays into something we've talked about, Brandon, before. I'm glad they didn't give up. I'm glad they didn't stop playing. They actually kept playing and actually trying to make something happen. Still made some mistakes, but I'm glad they didn't give up. But at the same time, I expected them to win after being down 28-0. No, I didn't expect them to win. But the second half was better. I expect Jordan Love will be better with more throws. But the big problem I have right now is I think we need a kicker. So Eric, you might need to warm up your leg. We might need a kicker out here.
Well, I cannot kick as someone who played high school.
What a coincidence! The guy that we have can't do it either.
And college soccer. And for fun, would go out with friends and kick field goals just for giggles. I couldn't kick one now if you paid me. But the Patriots,
again, what a coincidence. We have a guy like that too.
The Patriots only have one decent player on their team, and it happens to be the kicker. So let's see if you can, maybe there's some trading that can happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a shame though, Brandon. We're seeing like all these guys that are making 50+ yarders look almost routine, and I got a guy who can't make a 37-yarder. It's like, ooh,
yeah. I
I
can't talk because Justin Tucker's been struggling this year. But here's the question for you guys.
Yeah.
Which is more surprising? The Minnesota Vikings being 4-0 or Washington leading the division winning 3 straight, and they put up more points in the game yesterday than I forgot what they said on the news, but it's been like for a very long time. Like they're out there putting up numbers. I think they've scored the third highest amount of points in the NFL with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. So, which one is more surprising, Minnesota or Washington?
Well, I think both are surprising, but I think both are surprising for different reasons. Like, no one expected anything of Darnold at this point. Like, the expectation was, and I could be wrong, but isn't Darnold leading the league in touchdown passes right now? If not, he's got to be pretty close.
Let me look.
Like, because he did like the first half, he really did very well, and he's got to be right up there in terms of stat line right now. And Jaden Daniels obviously played well for Washington. You know, all value to him for that. He's doing a good job. But it's just kind of weird right now. It's been very strange how this has played out so far this season. I don't think anybody expected either of those things. I'll agree with Eric. Yeah, here we go. I just saw it. 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So he's leading the NFL in touchdown passes. You don't think Darnold leading the league in touchdown passes? A little surprising, Eric?
No, it's too early in the season. I don't care. Just
11 touchdowns is still really good, Eric. There's guys who are going to finish with 20.
No, it's fantastic. But I mean, it's a long season, the 17 games. I don't care what he does in the first 3. But
you're about to argue Washington with the same sample size.
Because Washington has been a complete dumpster fire for a generation. And
New
the fact
owners
that,
now.
They got new owners.
And the fact that they don't suck and is not a complete embarrassment to the league and their fan base. Yeah, that's surprising. That's good. That's great. It's like when Detroit finally turned their franchise around. It's good for the league.
The thing though, Eric, is that they haven't necessarily turned it around. They're playing extremely. So was Cleveland last season before Flacco saved their ass. They went through 5 starting quarterbacks last season. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Literally in that season, and they made the playoffs. So, and Cleveland has been historically garbage since forever, since basically Jim Brown.
Since Bernie Kosar.
Yeah, and that's a long time ago, Eric. That's a very long time ago. And through a procession of suck, and they literally lost the franchise. So Cleveland has everybody beat in that one. Washington, at least, at the beginning of the 90s, had won 3 Super Bowls. You know, right. Joe Gibbs had led that team. Now, obviously, they fell on hard times, but during the RG3 period there, for a little bit, they were good. Yeah, it tells you what a good quarterback can do for you if you're solid. And they're in a division where that team hangs around sometimes. Like, Kirk Cousins had a couple of good seasons with them. But again, good is relative. Like, that division can be really bad. Like, when that division's bad, the Giants have been mediocre. The Cowboys generally will be near the top of that division, but that's only because of, like, sheer spending. Nobody is really good in that division most of the time. And right now, the Dallas is bad, and the Giants are atrocious, and, you know, the Eagles are bad. So it's like by good old-fashioned default, Washington's all right.
Yeah.
Good on the kid, though.
And I'm going to say, and I'm local here, and I'm not a Washington fan. Obviously, I am Baltimore. But hearing and being the local team, being the team that is always talked about, being the team that you hear everybody around talked about, I have to say it's pretty impressive what this kid at quarterback's been able to do and go in there, and the organization themselves. And there's a lot of hype around them right now. Obviously, it is still early. We don't know how it's going to play out. But and I know a lot of people, you know, talk about how good Stroud is and everything else. I think Jaden Daniels might be the 2024 CJ Stroud. That he's making that team work. It is a bold statement, and I am not a Washington fan by far. But when you hear just the difference in tone, the difference in actually believing the team, like they would go undefeated in the preseason. Everybody would knew, like, the same old story. We're undefeated in the preseason. We're going to suck in the regular season. Like it was a given. It's not that feeling now. These fans are hype. They are excited to watch this team. They believe in this team. They got the new ownership that's fresh. They were, they hated that whole situation. Um, there could be some, and the other reason I say that it's more impressive is because they're doing this with a rookie. And yes, Darnold doesn't have a great history, but he has experience. And he went to a team with Justin Jefferson. Like, I mean, you just went from throwing to nobody to Justin Jefferson. So that's going to help you out a little bit.
Oh, but
This
Like-
kid is like, he wasn't even the top rookie. And he's coming in there taking a franchise that hasn't been doing crap and making them look like a legitimate contender. So that's the only reason I'm saying they're more surprising.
There you go. So actually, I didn't realize, I completely forgot for some reason in my head. I forgotten we had the 2 Monday nighters this week. One of you guys forgot to call me out on it. Actually, the Mailman has technically played, but Mason Rudolph appears to be taking most of the snaps. So the Mailman is kind of taking a back seat to Mason Rudolph. There's a murderer's row of quarterbacks for you. Mason Rudolph and the Mailman. That's brutal. That's bad.
I need Tony Pollard to get me 15 yards.
Yeah, well, there you go. So yeah, not so great. Although Tennessee looks like they're up on Miami, so right now they're hanging in there. So it's not it doesn't salvage Mayo Mondays. It's not the Mayo Man doing most of the heavy lifting. So unfortunately, the first part of the podcast is accurate. It is not a Mayo Monday. Mayo Monday, unfortunately, has been disqualified this week. We're not quite there, but the Mayo Man isn't going to save it on Monday night, unfortunately. So that's out. It is kind of funny though. It does make me laugh. So anyway, it was kind of interesting. I did enjoy aspects of it. I was watching the 2 games, but it's been kind of enjoyable from that perspective. I guess we'll see. It's still early, but it's 4 games in, so I guess I'm just disappointed we didn't get a Mayo Monday. Only 4 weeks in, and we already missed out on our Mayo Monday. It's a struggle. I was willing to give a lot of leeway.
What's the thoughts? And I mean, I know I could be accused of it.
I'll accuse you of something.
I'm prepared to accuse you. I don't even know what you're talking about. Go on.
You are officially accused.
What is the take on all of the injuries? Like, it has been brutal. 4 weeks in there. Is it because of a lack of preseason preparedness?
Yes.
Like,
they literally are not. They're not
dropping like flies.
Brendan, they literally look. I made the point in the Packer thing. Jordan Love, prior to the game in Brazil, he hadn't actually played. Like, he didn't actually play in the preseason at all. Like, effectively, the Brazil game was effectively his first actual action, other than taking snaps in training camp and like running drills and whatever. Like, that was his first. And they're playing on this field where people are slipping and sliding everywhere. And they weren't playing, and the Eagles were not playing great. They weren't playing great, and the Eagles obviously haven't been playing great since. So it's not like they took that and launched with it. It was like, no, they both teams were, the first couple of weeks of the NFL season at this point. Basically, you can say that the first 2 or 3 weeks is pretty much going to be trash. The defenses are going to dominate. 300-yard games are going to be at a premium. It doesn't mean they're not possible, but they're going to be at a premium. And if you noticed, this week we're starting to get a couple of 300-yard games. Jordan Love, like I said, struggled about as mightily as he could have struggled. By the time he was done, he almost had 400 yards passing because they were playing from behind and had to suddenly start throwing. But he was also starting to connect on the throws. And it wasn't like Minnesota was stopping them once they got going a little bit. Once they got some momentum, they started actually scoring on that, which is good. That's why I'm saying, I'm encouraged that in the second half, they started getting a couple of things to work, which is good. But literally, that is his second game this year. So and that's after a 3-week injury.
Because he had
right, but that's the point that I was coming at, is these injuries. Like, I know injuries happen, but look at how many players are already down. Some for the season, some we don't know when the hell they're coming back. I don't think a lot of people expected Love to be back already. And he kind of pulled an Aaron Rodgers thing from last year, saying that he was going to magically come back, and he came back.
Love actually did come back. He is playing.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he kind of pulled the Aaron Rodgers thing, but actually came back.
Yeah, actually came back. Yeah,
but there's so many guys down already, and we're in.
I just think it's not getting real snaps, even though it's preseason. A series or two for those first couple of games would not have been a bad idea. I think getting some of the starters some snaps in the first couple of games would have been helpful to get them some rhythm, and in turn keep them from, because if they feel like they've got their timing down, they're not trying to do anything wacky. If if they feel like they've got their timing down a little bit, then they're not trying to do something extending themselves beyond what they've got prepared, and there's a better chance. Again, injuries are always going to happen. But yeah, I think that playing less meaningful games and kind of jumping into full game speed, well, defenses are ready. The defenses are ready at full game speed. The offenses and a bunch of those players are not at full speed. They're going at like half speed and having to work their way. It's almost like the old baseball, where they'd be like, they'd use the spring training to play into shape. Like they'd show up out of shape, and then they'd have to play themselves into shape. Well, football has almost created that for themselves. Now these players are kind of have to play themselves, and they might be in shape to run laps around or lift some weights or whatever, but they're not in shape to play games and actually try to perform on the field and do offense.
Yeah,
and it makes rugby
interesting with so many players not playing in the preseason, and then we're seeing kind of this effect of injuries. I mean,
unless you're Derrick Henry, in which case your job is to be very big and stiff arm. He's practicing the stiff arm in the offseason.
Amazing.
I hope he keeps trucking, because that dude's a beast.
He is just amazing.
Are you saying, Brandon, that we need a commercial of like of Derrick Henry? He's like, what is your off-season training regimen like? It's like he's literally got like a heavy bag and he's just stiff arming it. That's all he's doing. Whole off-season, he's just like.
They showed his training, like a clip of him working out, and it's insane.
I believe it. Like, look, he knows he's in the twilight of his career as a running back, which means he's actually got to work harder, technically, to maintain and be able to keep going out there. But as long as he's trucking people, he's got a job. As long as he's trucking people, they'll be like, yes, yes, please. Yeah, we would love to have you. Well, unless you're the Dallas Cowboys, in which case you cheap out.
Yes.
They had a chance to get Derrick Henry, and they're sitting there going like, we don't have any running backs. We should probably do something about that. You could have signed that guy. The guy who was stiff-arming somebody out of their soul. Have you thought about that?
They went back to the junk pile and got Ezekiel Elliott back.
I was gonna say, come on, you're not feeling Zeke, Eric? Come on, good old Zeke.
We didn't feel Zeke when he was in New England, and I don't feel Zeke now that he's gone.
Just a lack of faith. But anyway, all right. So there's your bonus coverage. I thought we would chat about a couple of the games and everything. So hopefully you enjoyed. We'll be back with the next episode. Again, if there's anything that you folks want to chat on or anything you want to bring up, feel free to throw it in the comment section. We do appreciate it. And, give us some picks. We're enjoying the football season anyway. We're still early days, but I'm going to enjoy it, especially now that we're getting into the fall. And the hockeys are going to start soon, so we'll be able to sprinkle a little bit of the hockeys. Eric has it contractually obligated. We need to talk a little bit about the hockeys. So, we got to have that in there at least a little bit. And Brandon is right now working on, he's got construction happening. He's actually going to have an industrial-sized pump for this season. So when we start talking about the Dallas Stars and Jason Robertson, he'll actually be able to push a button and the pump will just go hydraulically. It's going to be very exciting. This is going to be a big season for all of us. It's going to be pretty good.
I'll have to see if I can figure that one out.
Just push the button and the hydraulic pump goes, man. The hydraulic pump goes. You don't even have to do it manually anymore. Just automate this sucker. Automate it all. So anyway, that'll be it for us this time around. The audio version of it should be pretty close. I let it fall a couple weeks behind, but I think we're mostly caught up. I will try to make sure those audio episodes go. But you're missing out on all the sight gags, man. Without the video version, you're missing out on a lot, is all I'm saying. You didn't get to see our cards. You didn't get to see the silly card of the week. And this week, you need to see it. See it to believe it.
No, you don't want to see that.
The look on Eric's face, I haven't seen since we were discussing Emmanuel in space. More on that on Fridays.
Get kicked off YouTube. Thank you, Brandon.
All right. That's it for all of us. Thank you very much. We will catch you in the next one.